My name is Jeff, and I'm on a quest to see every collectible known to man. Where will I go? What will I see? Everything. This is my life in toys. So we start today outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin at Makes Sense. They're more than a toy store, and we're going to check them out right now. But before we go inside, I love the window. You got Pac-Man, you got the NWO, you got the Terminator, Rambo, RoboCop, and more, including the Goonies. If the Goonies are on the wall, I'm there. Pee Wee Herman's just a bonus. But let's take a look inside, shall we? Because this store is a treasure trove. And look, The Rock. I already got that. Let's move on. So you're going to see a lot of wrestling-related material here, autographs, but this store has got it all. Crap, I drove my car. I guess I shouldn't have parked outside. But let's take a look at their games. Now, the PS4 games aren't that exciting, nor the PS5, but these vintage toys are, and this shelf is quite full of them. So up top, we are starting with vintage Star Wars. We got Han Solo, Boba Fett, you know the rest, and apparently Bosk, well, he got beat up. Now, He-Man is underneath Star Wars, in my heart as well as this shelf, and we have some Micro Machines as well. The Xbox shelf has an original copy of Gears. Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. I have those figures. Got that Judge Dredd as well. Folks in the chat, let me know what you have. I'm not going to spend today's video telling you everything I have, but I'll tell you there's a lot of cool stuff here. And at the end of the video, tell me what you want the most. I'll make you wait. I haven't seen a Mr. Wonderful doll in forever. They used to sell those at Spencer's and Hot Topic like 25 years ago. Sadly, these Doritos and Cheez-Its weren't available on the shelves, but they are more modern than the toys. So let's look over here. There's Hulk Hogan, but I want to check out these Spider-Man tapes. I used to have those way back in the day. Just like that old Coke machinist from way back in the day. I love these old video game cabinets. They take me back to Walmart, Kmart. My Toys R Us didn't have those. They had little paper slips that you took up to the front. Now, Funko Pops are a lot like little paper slips called toilet paper, but I'm not going to talk about those right now. A lot of these vintage stores have vintage signs in them, and I gotta say, it's pretty damn cool. Just like the original Game Boy and Ocarina of Time, the greatest Zelda game ever. Let me know if you disagree down below. So just like last time, this vintage store does a lot of gaming, and it makes sense. There's a huge market for both. And eventually we're going to start going out to vintage game stores next season. But for now, let's look at the might that is the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2's wonderful lineup. Has there ever been a library greater than the PlayStation 2? Let me know down in the comments below. Look, Hulk Hogan. Now let's look at some toys, and there's a comic book too. I have a memory with that Dick Tracy figure, which I'll never share on the air. Maybe if you ask me on a stream, I'll tell you. Pee-wee's Playhouse. I had everything you see here on screen as a child, including that Batman, but I loved Pee Wee Herman. Maybe when I give you guys, as a Patreon exclusive, a walk through my collection, I'll show you some of my Pee Wee Herman stuff that chills here at the house. Good old WCW toys. God, they're old. I know it's a little late for Halloween, but there's Chucky. I'm really glad we have more video game action figures than we used to back in the 90s. They were hard to come by, and they usually sucked, like that Resident Evil figure there in the back. But we took what we could get because they were so rare. I mean, look at those Mortal Kombat people. That is supposed to be Sonya Blade in those pajamas. Yeah, pajamas. Oh, Slave 1. Happy to see you. I mean, that was a Bill and Ted phone booth toy. I love how Bill and Ted was merchandised. I have some figures on the shelf right now. And I love the Power Glove. It's so bad. It barely works. These are AEW wrestling figures. They're decent toys. I think the skin color's off, but that's a topic for another time. Ah, the Super Scope. The Zapper was better in every way. The mighty Castle Grayskull. Did anyone have a Castle Grayskull growing up? I know I would have rather had a Cobra Kaigi than a Castle Grayskull, but beggars can't be choosers. I think one thing I love to collect are old magazines, because magazines really aren't a thing anymore. It's weird to say. Thank you, Internet. But they have classic wrestling ones, as well as some other ones we'll show you a little later. Can anybody name Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, the character on the screen? I'd be surprised if you could. Chuck Norris will give you a high five. You guys ever seen the original Indiana Jones doll? Well, now you have, and now you know it's pretty bad. He looks like he's out for a day at the beach. There's my action figure. Which one? I'll never tell. But it looks like Luke Skywalker. Think a Vince McMahon figure's worth anything these days? More than you realize. Now here we have two different Candyman figures, R.I.P. Tony Todd. Alright, Macho Man. Okay, Bonesaw is ready. Doesn't matter. I dig it. Now this back wall is incredible. It is a treasure trove of pop culture. History, if you will. That's what I love about these stores. They are a trip back in time. Vintage wrestling, including a good old wrestling buddy. Hulk Hogan looks like Hulk Hogan. There's another Macho Man. Oh, Macho King, excuse me, Your Highness. I love those vintage Hasbro figures. Didn't grow up with them, but they're great to look at. Realistic toy guns aren't a thing anymore. Oh well. Welcome to the land of Oz, or a land where Furby and Elvis share space with the New Kids on the Block and Minnie Mouse. What a weird world. I feel good knowing there's a handbook for the recently deceased available. Ah, Diabetor and the Sugar Monster. Let's take a trip back and look at some old Nintendo powers from the 90s. Maybe there's a couple from the 80s. Actually, no, there weren't. I believe these are all 90s issues. Ah, the strategy guide for 4-player games. Kind of rare back in the N64 days. There was a Goldberg chair on the wall. I don't know why, but there was. And here's the real Ghostbusters. What a great toy line. Captain Planet. It took me a second to realize who that was. I have a Captain Planet figure. It's Captain Planet. Did you like him? He was kind of like, oh man, I could go to bed or watch Captain Planet. I usually chose the nap. Pickle Rick and Austin Powers walk into a bar. The joke makes no sense. Folks, I would be impressed if you could name every figure here. By the way, that figure on the skateboard is named Zed, and when you press the button on his back, his pants fall down. I had that as a child. I love Police Academy. James Bond Jr. Didn't pick him up because I got multiple still. More games. We have Atari here. Hell, some of them are even in the box. Any trading card collectors? You can go back to Supergirl or The Crow. No, I didn't buy that Spider-Man McDonald's bag from 1995. I thought about it, but I didn't. But I did buy a Miami Vice school folder for a whole $1. Talk about a weird thing to get. But I had to have it for the collection. You know what that's like. Maybe one day I'll start collecting those fast food cups. Those were a lot of fun. It's going to be weird, though, when the nostalgia for this stuff wears off. What are people going to do with all this stuff? The next generation? Well, they're just going to try to sell it for a lot of money, but hopefully it goes to people like you out there who love this stuff. I mean, just look at it. It's the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. I bought that Ninja Megazord up there. But it's just a time travel, a trip back in time. And I love these stores. Let's look at some comics. We got Miss Marvel. We got classic Star Wars. Someone's watching Supergirl. No one's watching Batgirl, or should I say, no one watched Batgirl. R.I.P. show. And let's take a look one more time at this awesome wall. We have wrestlers' autographs and The Rock. So folks, what did you think of this episode of My Life in Toys? Let me know down in the comments below. Again, it's another wonderful store that we get to check out here on WCBS. But then again, we wouldn't feature these stores if they weren't world class. So folks, join me next week. I have another exciting episode planned for you guys. What is it? Where will I go? What will I see? Everything. And if you are a store owner and you would like to have your show featured on My Life in Toys, well, send us an email to the email on screen right now. We'll get back with you as quickly as possible, and we'll be on our way out to you very soon. But folks, hit that thumbs up button, share all over social media, and make sure you guys check out all the My Life in Toy videos here on the channel. I've been your host, Jeff, and I'm a collector just like you. I'll be back next time with more, but in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always keep on collecting. Stealing Solo asks the greatest what-if question of all time. What if a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement? That, and a whole lot more, is answered in Stealing Solo, a Captain's Parody. Stealing Solo has been called Laugh Out Loud Funny and the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs, and it's available now for a limited time only. Go to StealingSolo.com, which is powered by Shopify, so you get the reward-winning safety and security, and get yourselves a copy today. Once we sell through this limited backstock, I'm going back to the drawing board to bring you the sequel, which parodies Luke Skywalker's fall from grace, and finally the closing chapter, which I can't wait to get to, Frankenfisher, the Bride of Solo. And yes, it's exactly what you think it is. So folks, the only way to get that is go to StealingSolo.com right now, get yourselves a copy, and enjoy the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs.